Question.
Yeah, so this is from one of your tweets on X, where the tweet said, "When you want to help people, you tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear." Can you elaborate a bit on the tweet?
Well, I think the most important thing here is to pay attention to the source, and that's a direct quotation of Thomas Sowell, who, by the way, I could recommend as a brilliant thinker, a great political philosopher. He'll be used by historians who value him, appropriately. But he's on the outs with the political left at the moment, and that's unfortunate because he has a lot of great things to say. And so that's more of a political tweet, right? And it has to be careful. Read it again. The tweet, the quote.
When you want to help people, you tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear.
Yeah, and see our government. I mean, unfortunately, our government lies to us all the time. Now, a little bit of that is understandable if you just look at history. A little bit, nothing like what we're going through now. And I don't want to get started on that because I will get upset. As an old man should be when his government is using people for purposes that are less than admirable. Okay, next question. Next question.
Got it. Yeah. The next question I have is this is a this is a quote I found in the book Learning How to Learn.
Okay.
It says, "Many people who are in reality dead are walking in the streets. Many who are in their graves are in reality alive." So this one I'm not able to really understand. So can you elaborate on this, on what it is about or what that means?
I'll elaborate on the first part. Many people walking around are basically the living dead. I mean, they're not awake. They have no chance of waking up. Well, I shouldn't say they have no chance, but for practical purposes, they're set in their ways. They're unable to see the reality in which they're embedded. They live more like I don't want to be harsh, but more like farm animals, right? They just kind of do what they're told. They eat, they sleep, they work. They go through their life with not ever thinking, who am I really? What is this really? Where do I come from? Where am I going? What's the purpose of life? They just kind of do what they're told. So those people are effectively dead from this point of view. Okay. With regard to those who are physically dead that are still with us, I mean, I can think of many folks like that. But let's move on.
Okay, got it. The next question I have around around the death of Socrates and Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
like how they died. So when I think about it, to me it seems that they could have found a way to survive, but they chose to die or to give up their life for certain reasons. And that is unclear to me why they would choose to die when they could survive and continue spreading their knowledge as long as they can if they were alive.
Okay. All right. So the question is, let's take them each in turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Socrates didn't. I mean, so you got to understand these guys don't. Just like in reality, see, we don't die. That's the part people don't get. There's no death in the case of Socrates or Jesus. These men are immortals. Now, some people will think that I'm talking about their writing or their teaching, and in both cases, we're still talking about them, right? Two and a half
Mm-hmm.
millennia later, we're still speaking of these men and their teaching. So in that sense, of course, which is a trivial sense, they're 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 still with us. They're still alive. But see, what these men understood is what the purpose of this work is really to understand that you are immortal, right? You were never born. You're not going to die. You're dreaming. You're fallen into a dream, a human dream, a beautiful dream, and a scary dream. It could be a nightmare. It could be heaven. It could be hell, right? But it's just a dream. And when you wake up, you realize, oh my God, I'm not this body, and I'm not this skull and brain and mind. That's not what I am at all. I'm something eternal. But it doesn't do any good to hear those words. You have to know that for yourself. And it's almost as if, no, it's not almost as if, it's like it is, it seems to me, put it that way, that the purpose of this life is to wake up and discover that. Now you will discover that you're immortal one way or the other when you croak, right? Because where are you going to go to? Think about it. Where's your consciousness? Where did it come from, and where's it going? Now, people may be again the walking dead, the sleepwalkers among us. Okay, they don't even think about this. They think that they're the body. They think that they're the mind. They think that they're their thoughts, and they think they're going to die and go in the ground and be eaten by worms, and that's the end of the story. Well, that's not the end of the story. It's just a fact, right? Now, Socrates and Jesus both knew this, and so they weren't giving up their lives. They were giving up their bodies. Big deal. That's what's talked about. That's what's meant by no fear. Now, to say that there's no fear of the physical suffering, right, is, I think, that's something else. I don't know about that one, right? I mean, because you've got an animal body and it's got animal fears, right? And you suffer pain, and but pain is not suffering necessarily at all. And so I often wonder about what Jesus really said on the cross. I have reasons to be suspicious of what we've gotten handed down to us. But in the case of Socrates, we have, I think, a fairly good record. And he was, what's the big deal? Give me the hemlock. All right, next question.
So the next question is again, like, this is from one of your tweets on X. This is basically about fate, destiny, that thing. Should I read it out?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this one, it says, life is what is received from the universe. Destiny is what is met in one's time. If one has a talent but doesn't live in the appropriate time, that is nature. There may be a way to seek something, but whether one gets it is a matter of fate. Ideal people can do good, but they cannot necessarily reap its blessings. They are unwilling to do wrong, but they cannot necessarily avoid troubles. So on this one...
Okay, you got to slow way down. And the main thing is to understand what is the source of that tweet. I mean, the source of that quote.
Let me look it up.
See, that's really important. You have to understand who's saying it and when and to whom, right? Because words are always deceptive, and words are oftentimes confusing. Words mean all kinds of different things. I could say soul, and I could be referring to music. I could be referring to spirit. I could be referring to Thomas' soul. I could be referring to the sole of a shoe. You can't just go by the words. You got to have the context always, right? But the context is not the content, right? This is a very important Sufi teaching. The container is not the content. So Socrates and Jesus were the container, not the content, right? So keep going though, but let's find out where that's from, because that's very important, critically important.
This one is from Lao Tzu.
Exactly, the Taoist master. So let's take it line by line. What's the first line, please?
The first line is, life is what is received from the universe. Destiny is what is met in one's time.
Okay, stop. Life is what's received from the universe, right?
Yep.
So we didn't birth ourselves. We didn't decide, I want to be born, as far as I know. Well, not at this level, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting question. But at any rate, it comes from the universe. We can't do it on our own, right? And then the second part
Mm-hmm.
is, what's the second part?
Destiny is what is met in one's time.
So that's what destiny means. What you meet in your lifetime, that's destiny. All right? So you're born in India, you're
Mm-hmm.
born in Texas, you're born in California, you're born in Mexico or Uruguay, right? That's destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Next line.
If one has a talent but doesn't live in the appropriate time, that is nature.
Okay, so you may be born with certain attributes, like say, let's take Borges, brilliant writer. Okay, but in his lifetime he was barely known, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is nature. Now, nature to the Taoists, this is where it's important to understand where the quote comes from. So, nature for the Taoists is the same as God, right? The way that nature is
Mm-hmm.
almost above the Tao, right? And the words, I'm not a translator of ancient Chinese dialect, so I have to rely on an enlightened translator, a brilliant translator, Thomas Cleary, who will also go down as not just a genius of the highest order, literally the highest order, but a saint as well by the people who are inclined to that way. So at any rate, nature is a translation of basically the Taoist God. And that's what they mean when they say accord with the Tao. That's accord with nature, accord with God, with reality, with truth. And so let's hear the sentence again. Just the sentence, please.
If one has a talent but doesn't live in the appropriate time, that is nature.
Okay, good. Next sentence.
There may be a way to seek something, but whether one gets it is a matter of fate.
Right. Uh, yeah. There's only so many. Thank God, there's only so much we can do. Right. We can only do what we can do, and then there's peace with that because Borges, as brilliant as he was born in Argentina, and his first language is Spanish, and he wrote in very some of his work is very dense. Some of it. And now that he's dead, people are starting to realize, hey, it's kind of like Thomas Cleary or Thomas Sowell or Borges. Some of these people we don't recognize until they're dead, right? And that's their fate, right? Other people we recognize in their life, and then we kill them, and that would be Socrates, for example. And there's other people whose fate was to be crucified, and other people for whom obscurity and not being known is their fate, and other people for whom fame is their fate. Not a great one, by the way. So that's fate. Keep going.
Then it says, ideal people can do good, but they cannot necessarily reap its blessings.
Yeah, we don't control the outcome, right? We just do our best. And there's a great peace in that. So if I say, well, you want to help people, well, you do your best, right? But if you're in the middle of Germany, and the Nazis have come to power, and they're killing people by the millions, right? Or Armenia, or God knows where else, all kinds of places this has happened. Then there's only so much that can be done, and you're at peace with that. Does that make sense? Because in the ultimate, we don't control this dream entirely at the level of our individual body minds, right? If we did, God knows what a mess we'd make of it. Okay, keep going.
And the last line is, they are unwilling to do wrong, but they cannot necessarily avoid troubles.
Right. So the ideal person is someone who well, in Taoism, the ideal person is the awake person, right? In Sufism, it'd be the Sufi, right? In Christianity, it'd be like a saint or something like that. In Socrates' time, it'd be the illuminated philosopher. But There are some things. The ideal person can't do good. Do bad. He doesn't want. It's very much against his nature to do bad, to hurt people, or to lie, or to do things like that. Not something that the ideal person does. But read it again, because it's well put. Because listen to what it says. It's also brilliant. So and nuance. So read it one more time. The last sentence.
They are unwilling to do wrong.
Correct.
But they cannot necessarily avoid troubles.
Exactly. So they can get hit by a bioweapon, for example. Right? Yeah, so it doesn't matter. They could, you can't avoid the slings and arrows or whatever. And so what the Taoists are imparting here is wisdom, right? True wisdom. So if you go in thinking, oh, well, I'm going to get enlightened, so nothing will ever touch me, right? Well, it's true, nothing will ever touch you, but your body you might get hit with a bioweapon. Who knows? They might even call it, shoe polish, when it's really something else. You know what shinola is? You know what shinola is? Shinola is shoe polish. It's an American joke. Okay, keep going.
Then I have a follow-up on this. That was the tweet. That was the quote.
Okay.
And my follow-up is, so here when he mentioned destiny and fate, is he using the literal definition of these words, or is there something nuanced?
No, you're using the literal definitions. They're never that concrete. First of all, you got to remember, this is written 2,500 years ago, right? 2.5 millennia ago, in another language, in another culture, in another time, before there was electricity or dictionaries or democracy, or it's during the era of the Warring States, right? And so if you wonder whether somebody's being literal, it's always you, right? These guys aren't literal. They aren't small. And so it's always nuanced. But let's go and let's see what the issue is in particular. Go ahead.
Okay, got it.
No. Let's. What was the original question about?
Yeah, so when I read this, I looked up the meaning for fate and destiny.
Good. Where did you look it up, though? Where did you look it up?
Oxford Dictionary.
That's not bad. That's probably as good as you're going to get. So keep going. Did you look up the etymology?
Yeah. And the etymology, that I don't know what you.
So words change also. Words change also in meaning. They'll change in meaning in 100 years. And so something will mean something very different. Like to raise a house is to knock it down, right? But these are good words, but they're big words. Fate and destiny. Big words. Okay, go ahead. What'd you find out?
Yeah. So fate meant something that is like preordained, that is like written, something like that. And destiny meant something that I can control with my actions, and then whatever I do.
Oh, really? You can control your destiny with your actions? Really?
To some extent, that's what it. And then I looked up in ChatGPT the difference between fate and destiny.
Oh, good. Now, see, this is real study, right? This is learning. Good, excellent. Keep going.
So the difference was basically fate is not in our control. It's like preordained, and destiny is something that we can influence with our actions. And whatever we get in our lifetime, that's our destiny.
Did they ever mention Damien? The Greek Damien?
Damien? No, I don't think so.
Look it up real quick. It's a free association. Let's just see what happens. Damien. D-A-M.
Okay.
Or Damon.
I-E-N?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe it's not. It's Damon. Damien? It's the Greek.
Damon? Yeah, so Damon means a Greek masculine name. One who tames, subdues.
All right, so not Damien. That's another name for the Buddha, Siddhartha. But let's try Daemon. Daimaaon. Damien.
Oh, okay. Damaeon. It doesn't
Damien.
show any word. It doesn't show any word like that. But both Damon and Damien both mean similar. One who tames, subdues.
Okay, I'll look it up. So I'll have to get the spelling. My Greek is horrible. No, so there's another word, and so these are big questions in philosophy and in life, right? And so the fate, destiny, and those kinds of words are huge for good reason, right? So keep investigating them, right? Am I the master of my own destiny? Am I the master of my own Damien? Am I the master of my own fate? And then you might ask yourself, well, wait a minute, which I am I referring to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I decide
Yeah.
to be, American or Indian or, Mongolian or, you know, Chilean? You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much do I actually control?
Yeah.
And who's doing the controlling? So that's really good. Keep at that. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
More on that or next
Got it.
question?
Yeah. Next question.
Go ahead.
My next question is, yeah. So this is also from one of your tweets. I think we may have talked about this before too. So in the tweet, it says, to paraphrase Steve Martin, there's a fine line between meditating and staring at the wall like an idiot.
Yeah, there's a fine line between
And
meditating and staring at the wall like an idiot.
yeah,
All right. So now who are we quoting?
and the quote is from Marc Andreessen.
Okay, so we're quoting Marc Andreessen. That's one. So that should alert you, right? And if you don't know who he is, you should look him up. And two, we're quoting Steve Martin, right?
Yeah,
Or he's paraphrasing Steve Martin. So this is double removed. Now, who's Steve Martin?
Steve Martin.
Imagine this is narrow.
He's a American comedian and actor.
Exactly.
Steve Martin.
He was known for this. He had a whole routine with an arrow going through his head. You have to imagine this is an arrow. Anyway, yeah, he's a great comedian. So what did he say? What did Steve Martin say?
There's a difference. Yeah, there's a difference between meditating and staring at the wall like an idiot.
There you go. A fine line. The line is not so fine. You need to know why you're meditating. You need to know the purpose of it, in the moment and in general. And yeah, a lot of people just stare at the wall like an idiot, and they use it as a tranquilizer. They use it as an escape. They use it as a way to feel better about themselves or ignore the world. There's all thousand. They use it to avoid work. So you got to know why you're meditating, right?
Yeah.
And meditation, like any other tool, it depends on who's doing it, what they're doing specifically, and why they're doing it, whether or not it makes sense or not. It doesn't make sense as a panacea for everything, which is how it was used in the 20th century, right? Now people are too scatterbrained to do any of that, right? So they make a similar mistake in different areas. Okay. Like now, one of the things is ayahuasca. Everybody's doing ayahuasca because they want to find themselves. Well, if you're gonna take that route, it takes a lot of preparation, and a lot of seriousness, and a lot of discipline, and a lot of rigor. And anybody who knows anything about ayahuasca knows that you can't just do it on a weekend retreat with some middle-aged woman who calls herself a shaman. Just because someone calls themselves a shaman doesn't make them a shaman, a curandero, or anything like that. It's and people are using this the way people use meditation in the mid 20th century, like crazy people, thinking they're going to find themselves by dosing themselves with an incredibly powerful combination of pharmacologic agents, and it's like the same thing with ketamine. It's silliness, complete silliness, and sometimes dangerous, I suppose. Okay, keep going.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much what I had on that one.
Okay.
Yep. I have another question. This one is from Avatamsaka Sutra, the flower ornament scripture.
Okay.
So in this one, they mention a workable mind and the gentle mind, like different states or different kind of minds. So I was contemplating on it, what it might be, and the closest like analogy I can experience myself is when I do the seeing thing, like when I am when I'm like gently observing multiple things at the same time. They all appear vague, but it feels gentle. But when I'm concentrating or I'm like doing a task, then I'm able to work, but it's not that gentle, or like I'm able to sense multiple things at the same time. Is this what they are talking about here, or is it something different? The workable mind and the gentle mind.
Yeah, it's something different, very different. Now let's just for the sake of completeness, which part of the Avatamsaka are you referring to? Which book in the Avatamsaka?
Yeah, so this is from the chapter, the 10 stages.
Okay, good. That's fine. So the 10 stages of development, starting with stage one,
Yep.
which is joy, and then comes, I don't know, the other stages.
Yeah.
Now, when you're in meditation, things are not fuzzy. They are crystal clear. They are much clearer than in your normal state or when you're working on something. All right. So when you're seeing clearly, it's the exact opposite of fuzzy. It's like crystalline. It's not that crystalline has a hard edge to it, but it's brilliant. It's illuminate. It's you just see everything much more clearly. Not fuzzy, not weak. Not it's I guess more real than otherwise, right? More there's more there. It's much more reality. It's reality. And it's I don't know, I wouldn't just call it focus at all. I would just call it seeing what's there. And it's not like you're seeing a bunch of things at the same time. Your eyes can take in everything, but it's like the whole thing is one object or something like that. I don't know that there's much yield in that saying, whether it's one thing or yeah, one and many. They don't make a whole lot of sense. It's just one thing. I mean, it's one. I mean, you can obviously focus on something, so it may be gentle. It must be gentle. I mean, believe it or not, God is gentle. Believe it or not, nature is incredibly loving. It's very hard for humans to feel that or know that. But I guess it's the mind rests gently on the object of observation. So the mind is gentle, right? The ego's out of the way. It's not trying to get something. It's not trying to, I got to understand something in a certain way. Well, you just like, it's there. It comes to you. It is you, so, it's different, totally different. So one was workable state. What was the other state?
Gentle. The workable mind and the gentle mind.
And what did it say about these two? These two?
So at this point, they don't say much. They say it's just like one line that in
Well,
those
let's
who
hear
have
that line.
taken
Let's
such
hear that line.
vows,
Let's hear that line.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
remember, the Avatam
in
Sutra is
those
like the
who,
net of Indra, right? In
yeah,
the small reflects the whole, and the whole is in the small. It's very much like the universe, and it's fractal. And it's the Avatamsaka Sutra, the Flower Ornament Sutra, is again something translated in the 20th century. Before that, it was the 7th century, and before that, it was the 2nd century. So this is like every 500 years or something like that. A magnificent
mm-hmm,
translation by the saint and genius Thomas Cleary, right? And
mm-hmm.
so let's hear the whole sentence. Actually, the sentence before,
Uh,
the sentence, and the sentence after, please, slowly and gently. All right, like you're reading it to a baby.
okay, so the sentence before is it's from the previous paragraph. It says, "Enlightening beings vow that their undertakings shall be coterminous with living beings, worlds, space, the cosmos, nirvana, the emergence of Buddhas, enlightened knowledge, mental objects, entries of knowledge into the sphere of Buddhas, the courses of worlds, the courses of teachings, and the courses of knowledge, and that just as all of these are endless, so shall the enlightening beings' roots of goodness be endless. In those who have taken such vows upon themselves, the workable mind and the gentle mind are incorruptibly pure."
Boom. So workable mind and gentle mind are kind of the same thing, and they're incorruptibly pure because they're pristine. They're made of reality itself, right? And but the passage before that, man, is killer. So we're coterminous. So at some point, maybe you could ask a question about that sentence, that last sentence about being coterminous with thoughts, with words, with objects, with song, with flowers, with the trees, with the animals, with everything, and so we're coterminous with that. And but the mind that is going to behold that, understand that, is gentle and workable. It's not rigid. It's not. It's like, oh, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I mean, I don't want to sound maudlin, but it'd be like kind of like a meadow on a spring day with beautiful weather and just a few clouds in the sky, and it's just like peaceful and receptive, open field, just like that. But you could still work it, but it's still gentle or something like that. I'm not Thomas Cleary, or I'm not one of these geniuses, right? But yeah, come back to that, especially that last sentence of that previous paragraph. Okay, another question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have another one. This is again from the 10 stages. Here, I think they are kind of explaining the process of life and like how the things develop. I'll just read out the sentences.
What's the question? Just ask the question, and then read the sentence.
Okay.
You don't have to give an intro or explain why you're asking.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So here they are explaining how the life form is manifest and how contact with the sensation leads to cravings, and how cravings lead to existence, death, sorrow, and those things. So my question was, in this process, where can I cut off the cycle of like enjoyment and seeking pleasure, so that we can get free from the desire or the cravings?
Anywhere in the cycle. I mean, what's the quote?
Yeah, so it says, that is to say, name and form are born together, inseparable, and by the development of
Name
name
and
and
form
form.
are born together, inseparable, right? They're born together that
Mm-hmm.
way, right? So when you're born, you get the form of a human, right? And that's the name we have for you, human. And then they give you another name, they call you Bob or something. And then now those two are inseparable, right? So you could cut it there. Keep going. Next one. What's the next one?
And by the development of name and form, the assembly of six sense mediums takes place.
Okay, so with the first one, if you refuse to identify with the body form, you've cut it. And the next one, you have the six senses, right? Now this is different. They say cut off the six senses. I suppose you can. You can just cut off the six senses, and then you're all of a sudden you're in a void, right? A black void. And then if you don't identify with anything except for the void, the consciousness in the void, you've cut it there. Next one, please.
Once the mediums are formed, from their mutual contact, sensation comes to be.
Okay, now cutting off sensation is a little trickier. I'm not sure you can do that, but you can get away from hard sensations like, chilies and bright colors and noisy crowds, and if you divorce yourself from those sensations, you can stop it there. But there was something else before sensation. What was that?
And by the development of name and form, the assembly of six sense mediums takes place.
Okay, yeah. So you can't have the six senses until you've got a body, right? Until you've identified with the body. Otherwise, they're just So in reality, there's just hearing. There's just sound. There's just light. There's just color. Right? But since we identify with this body, right? It's just kind of the same thing. You identify your body with the six senses. That's harder to cut, but go ahead, keep going. What's the next one?
Yeah, and then it says, and that sensation being enjoyed and sought more and more.
Exactly, that's pleasure.
The of craving grows. Yeah, that's pleasure.
Seeking pleasure.
Craving.
So you can cut it right there. Stop seeking pleasure. Stop seeking pleasure. Easier said than done.
Craving being developed.
Craving pleasure, that's what you're craving, is actually, well, I'm going to tell people what they need to know, I'm going to tell them the truth rather than what they want to hear. But seeking pleasure is a loser's game. Ultimately, there's no pleasure that doesn't lead to the craving for more pleasure, eventually. No pleasure that doesn't, create its counterpart. It's like two sides of a coin. And don't shoot the messenger. You don't have to get all obsessed about it either. It's more gentle and workable than that. Keep going.
The operation of craving grows. Craving being developed, existence comes to be. Yeah.
So you think you exist. Remember, this is written, before the 2nd century, right? Keep going.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
And once there is existence, birth, death, sorrow, lamentation, suffering, sadness, and anxiety appear.
Yeah, that's part of being a human, frankly. So they're speaking to humans. They're speaking to humans here. Okay, keep going.
And thus does the mass of suffering of sentient beings arise.
There you go. What's the question?
Yeah, so in this thing, to me, the only choice I see, for me, if I start from the beginning, identifying name and form together, when it happened, I didn't have a choice, so I...
But no, you're talking about the past. You're talking about the imaginary past. So who is it that doesn't have a choice to not identify with life and form? Or human form? You're saying you don't have the choice?
Else.
Huh?
Oh, I said in the past.
Well, we can't do anything about the past. Forget the past. All right, forget the past. Right? And remember, these guys are working it out. Right? This is Buddhism. They're dealing with ancient Hindu scriptures, right? And the cycle. They saw everything like that. That's how they themselves sorted it out in the 2nd century, right? Or before the 2nd century. But, there were millennia before that in India with the same kind of thing. So you got to put it in that context. But what's the question here? You're looking to this and you're trying to say, where do I have a choice? First, tell me who you are, and I'll tell you where you have a choice. Who are you? That's the question. Who are you right now, this moment, this instant? Who are you? Really?
Right this instant, I only experience the I only experience the sensation, like the experiences I'm getting from my senses.
So you've identified with that, right? So stop identifying with that, and then we'll talk, right? Because, but see, the thing is, you're trying to do this exercise from the point of view of someone who hasn't even, acknowledged that they don't know who or what they are. That's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to decide, well, I decided this, and I have this power, and I only have this much control, and poor me, this is so hard, or whatever, lucky me, this is so easy. But the point is this: you're still identifying with, arbitrarily, you're identifying with your body and your mind. But I'm talking to your consciousness, not to your body or your mind. I'm talking to your consciousness, which is really kind of funny because it's my consciousness too. So now, so you're mixing categories. So no wonder this is a big mess. So, you weren't born. You will not die. You are consciousness itself. It doesn't have a beginning or an end. Time is actually the illusion, as is space, right? I know that sounds crazy. Sorry about that, folks, but I gotta, say what's true within reason, I suppose, because people aren't ready for that. But it's those are mental constructs. So when you switch over, right, and you finally say, hey, wait a minute, maybe I'm not this body and mind, and maybe I wasn't born in this place, and maybe I'm not this age, and maybe I'm not male or female, maybe I'm consciousness itself. And when you see the obviousness of that, then come back and look at this and you go, oh yeah, I can see what these guys are doing. They're trying to help other people along. But don't get caught up, don't get obsessed about it. Just look at what the thing is pointing to. You're coterminous. Look at in the prior sentence, it talks about being coterminous with thoughts and trees and words and all of this stuff. All everything here, you're coterminous with it. Yeah, you're it. But that's not all you are. All right, let's keep going. We got a few minutes left.
Got it. I have one more question. This is also from Avatamsaka Sutra.
Okay.
Let me read the line.
Read it slowly and gently.
Yeah.
And read the line before it and the line.
Is,
okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Just do it this way first.
Yeah. Yeah. So here it says, considering well the teachings they have heard with unattached minds, their will for enlightenment directed without desire for gain, seeking knowledge and power, the purifying teachings of Buddhists. So the line I wanted to talk about is their will for enlightenment directed without desire for gain.
Yeah. You want truth. You want enlightenment. And you want that more than anything else. That's what you want. That's what your life is about. And some people choose to live that way and they're better off for it. I've never known anyone who was worse off for it. And if you're sincere, you'll realize the truth. What's the question?
So the pursuit is about actually finding out the truth, not to find out the truth so that I don't feel afraid or I feel happy, not because of that, but to just find out the truth.
You're identifying with the wrong thing. There's no fear in enlightenment. I can tell you that. There's no fear. How could there be fear? There's not fear. I mean, there's just not. What is there to be afraid of? All of that stuff is mental animal stuff. That's just like the lower mental animal stuff, right? But how does that relate to the sentence? It just says, read the sentence again.
Their will for enlightenment.
Their will for enlightenment. Right?
Directed without desire for gain.
So you're saying that freedom from suffering is gain? All right. If you want to look at it that way, but you're just throwing obstacles up. just go along with the program. You don't have to like, pick everything apart, right? And say, oh, well, here's a contradiction. Oh, here's something that doesn't fit, whatever. The point is this, is that there's the will for enlightenment is stronger than the will for gain, for fame, for money, for, to avoid all suffering at all costs or whatever. It so happens that it does that, right? It's a path beyond suffering. But that's not what you're doing it for. If you're doing it for that, you're doing, I don't know that. But you got to be willing, you got to have some balls in this thing, man. You do. You got to have some courage, and you got to have some integrity. You can't run around like a little girl, Oh, I don't want suffering. Oh, I don't want this. Oh, I don't want that. Oh, I want to hold on to this. And no. Yeah, you get lost in all that crap. Just stand on your feet and say, hey, I want truth. That's what I want is truth. I don't care what it costs. I don't want to get carried away here, but seriously. Or maybe there's another way. I don't know, but that's everyone I've known that's done it. At some point, they go for it, and that's just So it's a matter of character, I suppose, of some sort. I don't know. I can't. There's so many different ways, right? And so I'm not passing judgment by any means. I'm just sharing with you what I've learned in a lifetime, in case that's useful, something like that. Okay, sir? Anything else before we stop?
Sense, yeah.
Anything else before we stop?
I think I had another thing, but
okay, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Let's do it while I'm here.
Yes, I was thinking about how can I what is the solution of mine to cravings? Like, how can that happen? And I thought, and I was not thought, but the ideas came to mind was that as I continue not seeking pleasure or not indulging in pleasure, slowly my mind will get used to that, and then the craving it definitely goes down in my experience, but it has never totally disappeared. And I was contemplating if it's possible for it totally to go away.
So you're craving an absolute solution that will end your craving once and for all. That's what you're hoping for. Now, the Taoists have ways of dealing with this, and we'll talk about that offline. The Taoists have ways, for sure. Now, it depends entirely on what you're craving, for God's sake. You're an animal, right? You're a beast. I mean, look, you got hair on you. You got ears like a dog or whatever. You're asking, and so yeah, there is a path beyond craving, absolutely, where all of your everything. I mean, you have to remember to eat. I mean, in some cases, not really. When you're hungry, you eat. When you're sleepy, you sleep. But you're turning it into this obsessive kind of this battle. I'm going to get every little bit of pollen off this table, and they're bitter enough. There can't be one or this or that. Lighten up, gentle, workable mind, right? Flexible. There are solutions, but not in this mode, this obsessive mode of trying to you're focused on the wrong thing. You're coned down way too small, and you should open wide up, right? And you need to be free. You need to be able to do both. But in both cases, take it easy on yourself, man. Lighten up, right? Because you're all, and there's no in reality. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sir.
Yep.
Okay. Take good care, sir.
Cool.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Ciao.
Bye.